Hey, good evening. It's Friday night, April 24th. Tonight I thought I would begin reading to you from this book that I've just had the privilege to get out. It's called When Life Turns Upside Down. Just got my first copy today. So I thought I'd begin reading it and just see how you like this. So we're beginning with the introduction. Prayer keeps life right side up. This book is about living life from God's perspective and not your own. This cannot happen without consistent, informed, faithful prayer. Praying constantly for God's wisdom and discernment is a lifestyle habit that will keep your world balanced. Your heart can remain right side up regardless of the circumstances that you encounter. Paul commands all of us to pray constantly, continuously. To do this, we must see how God has prepared us in His Word by His Spirit to respond to the unexpected events of life. I have written this book to provide you with scriptural truths that will help you pray and think in ways that will transform your perspective to see God's good purpose in all that happens. Embracing these truths will enable you to remain right side up instead of upside down. The immediate context of this book is set against the coronavirus outbreak in 2020. But the biblical truths here are timeless and have helped God's people throughout recorded history to remain faithful and upright in a turbulent world. It is not the traumatic and sudden events of life that cause our world to be upside down, but rather our responses to these events that make all the difference and determine our perspective. Life becomes traumatic and overwhelming when we choose to follow our own natural responses instead of embracing God's perspective. Your daily prayer life plays a huge role in your ability to keep life-altering events from becoming life-dominating in a way that will really turn your world upside down. Allow me to offer a personal experience to illustrate this truth. In 2010, my wife, Ruth, was diagnosed with advanced glioblastoma. It's the most lethal form of brain cancer. She embraced this diagnosis with gratitude to God and determined to live the rest of her life, however long that would be, to pray for and encourage others to see God's faithfulness. Through the excellent care of the Brain Cancer Center at Duke University, she lived another 3.5 years. Not once during that time did I ever hear her say, "Why me?" or anything even close to that. She was 56 years old when she was diagnosed. She was a beautiful, faithful mother and wife. She was a brilliant Old Testament scholar. We had planned that she would be able to spend her time teaching, writing, and encouraging people to train their children to love God's word. But He had other plans. Ruth rejoiced in this new direction. Her life did not turn upside down. Rather, her faith became a rock for many. This is perhaps best illustrated by a priceless memory that will always be engraved in my heart. The memory of the day that Ruth told her mother about her diagnosis. Ruth's mom, Genevieve, is still alive today. Ruth was like her mom in that she was a woman of strong faith and minute-by-minute prayer. They both loved God's word. It was and is the foundation of their lives. One afternoon, early April 2010, Ruth and I walked up to her mother's house to tell her what God was doing. I was confident the conversation would go well, but I was totally blown away by what I heard. I listened in the kitchen as Ruth and her mom talked in the living room. They rejoiced at the good providence of God and were thrilled that they knew that God had planned this moment from before time began. They both took great comfort in the fact that God could be trusted. I heard joy, laughter, and praise that at moments like these, their loving, faithful, sovereign God could be trusted. That moment was the result of both Ruth's and Genevieve's solid trust in the good providence of God. There were no tears that afternoon, except mine. These two women, living testimonies of faith, rested in the secure knowledge that their God was being faithful to them. They were comforted and secure knowing that they did not have to fear the days ahead. This little book is all about how to walk before God in prayer and faith so that you will be able to remain right side up when life appears to be upside down. And that's the thought for tonight. Thank you for being with me for that and the joy to be able to share that with you. Lord bless you this night. See you tomorrow. Good night.